Hi, my name is Talea Swint. I'm a former Staff Sergeant of the United States Marines. I was also an administrator and a recruiter for quite some time. I ended up getting out in October of 2020. Been out for about 5 years, and I'm finding that I'm still getting questions from young ladies who are considering joining the Marine Corps or who have already started the process, and they have questions that their male recruiters can't answer. But because I've gotten the same questions twice in the last 2 weeks, even though I've been out for so many years, I realized that I just need to get on this platform and talk to you guys about some of the things that you may need to expect. As a woman, there are some experiences that males don't have to go through. There are some things that they might not have answers to because they never had firsthand experience. And that's where I come in and can answer some questions. There aren't a lot of female Marines. There aren't a lot of female Marine recruiters who can answer a lot of these questions. And so this is me kind of just filling in the gaps. Now, like I said, I have been out of the Marine Corps for quite some time, but some things really don't change. Okay. Some of the questions that I'm going to answer may be female specific, but a lot of the information is just general information. In this video specifically, I would like to discuss the overall process, like what happens after you say yes to becoming a United States Marine, okay? That's what this video is. What are the exact steps and what do you have to expect coming up, going through the process, okay? So that's what we're gonna be talking about here. I have a ton of information that I can give you on any given day, but I'm gonna try to keep these videos short. And if anything, I'll just keep doing updates or just keep building on topics as I see fit. There's not a lot of people that are giving out this information. And since I have it, why keep it in my cargo pockets? So I am cooking up baby number 3. I have been out. Some of the information is gonna change. Some of the information will update, but generally the process remains the same, okay? So I'm somebody's wife and somebody's mama now, but I'm also your favorite Staff Sergeant, Auntie Talea Swint, okay? So let's get started. So today, the 3 topics that we're gonna cover are very simple. First thing is gonna be screening, then it's gonna be testing and qualification, and lastly, MEPS. Now, I'm going to try to keep it simple, okay? There is a lot of information that goes into all of this, but I'm gonna give you the general process so that you understand what's gonna be required of you and what will be required from your recruiters to either ask you or obtain for you or prepare you for throughout the process, okay? Screening. Now, I need you to know that when Marine Corps recruiters are screening you, that means that they are going to be asking you very in-depth and very personal questions about who you are and what you are bringing into the recruiting office, as well as what you will bring into the Marine Corps itself, okay? So we used to use this process called iCombat V, right? And basically what it is just asking you all kinds of medical questions. Now, mind you, when you're being recruited, that whole HIPAA thing, it has to go out the window, okay? They're going to have to ask you medical questions and information about yourself and who you are that can possibly disqualify you from military service. So at this point, from the very beginning, you need to be as truthful as possible. You cannot hide things from your recruiter, and it is wise of you not to forget certain things, okay? If you know that I had this thing this one time, you need to tell your recruiter because that could be something that would disqualify you, okay? So again, iCombat V. So basically it stands for I, implants. C, your citizenship. They need to know what your current status for your citizenship is. O, like major operations or surgeries. M, markings, scars, or medications. B, broken bones. A, asthma or allergies. T, tattoos. V, vision, contacts or glasses. Stigmatisms or color blindness or any other vision issues. E, education. And whether you're a high school graduate, you're in high school, you have a diploma, college degree, or GED, like the high school status, okay? As well as your height and weight. And your marital status. If you are married or if you have kids, that's a different process than someone who's coming in that's single with no kids, okay? And then lastly, your age. You can join the Marine Corps at 17 years old, but you will require parental consent. You are only not required parental consent when you're 18 years or older, okay? Okay. Now, parental consent is also very important because if you are 17 years of age, you have to have both of your parents' signatures. The only way around that is if you have never seen a parent never spoken to them ever in your life. That's the only way you won't require both parental consents. But yeah, you can join at 17. And I do believe that the maximum age of joining is 33 or 35, something like that. It could be 34 or whatever, but something in between there. And then same thing with the marital status and the children. You can be married and have a child, but I don't believe that you can have more than 3 kids or something like that. Again, it could change, but that's it. So again, these questions are just basic questions. There's always going to be more. There may be less. Who knows? But this is the time for you to disclose all of who you are to your recruiter. It's important for you to know that you want to be a Marine or that you even want to be in military service really before you start the process, because the type of information that you're going to have to divulge and the process that you're going to be taken through, it's going to be very tedious and very time consuming. And if you're not sure, you could put yourself in a hurt locker and either waste a lot of people's time or waste your own time or just, it could be a whole thing, right? So make sure that you're sure that you actually do want to be a Marine, because this is the process you're going to have to go through. Okay. And that leads me to testing and qualification. So for testing, the typical way that you can have entry into the Marine Corps is by taking a test called the ASVAB. It's the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test, right? So basically this test tests your comprehension on everything ranging from verbal skills and mathematical knowledge to mechanical skills, a lot of things, right? So there are actually 10 categories in the test, and each category you'll get a certain ranking that lets the services know where you're best skilled and what you would be best suited for in your job. So it's like a job skills test, but it also has, the academic part as well as, some of the other external skills. Okay. So that's the first test. It's called the ASVAB. With this test, you can either take this test in high school or you can take it at MEPS and get a score. And that score will help with job selection, so on and so forth. Okay. So at school or at MEPS or at a testing site. Those are the 3 places you can take an ASVAB. The second type of test is the same categorically arranged test, just like the ASVAB, except it's called the PICAT. I don't know what it stands for. Not the point, but it is called the PICAT. This test you can actually take in the office with your recruiter. And if you pass the test and you get a score that is actually passing, then you would go to MEPS and confirm that score that you had in the office. Okay. Now, this is not like, I can take this in a backdoor kind of way. No, this test is the ASVAB. It's just you can take it under different circumstances. If you're trying to see whether or not you qualify, if you're unsure of whether or not you may be able to pass, if your recruiter kind of wants to see where your standing is to know how soon or how long you may need to study, that's sometimes when the PICAT comes into play. But if you're like an A student, honor roll, et cetera, then you might just be able to take the ASVAB and keep it moving, right? So the PICAT is for, everyone involved to kind of like see where you're at and get a good gauge of where you are. The good thing about the PICAT is also if you take the test and you do not have a passing score, it's okay. In 30 days, you can study and do everything you need to do, and then you can take the test again. And if you do pass, then you can go and confirm that score. If you do not pass the first time, there's no penalty. You just now know where you are, what sections you need to study, and how you need to moving forward, right? So that's the benefit of the PICAT. So again, the ASVAB you can take in high school, at MEPS, or in a testing site. If you're, a high performing student, or, you're just a genius and you have a good grasp on, your academics, then you could just go and take the test outright. If you've been out of school for a while, or you're not quite sure where you stand, then maybe it might be wise for you to ask the recruiter about the PICAT. And again, if you get a passing score, you can verify that score or confirm that score at MEPS, and then that score will actually count as your ASVAB score. Okay. There's no penalty if you do not pass that test. It's just you would have to wait 30 days to take it again. And I believe you can take it up to 3 times. And then after that, you just got to take the ASVAB. Okay. But either way, now for most services, every service has a different passing score. And for the Marine Corps, I believe the score, it was 31 for a while. And I think it may have changed. I think the score may have increased. But one thing that you need to be, aware of is that it's not just about your overall score that will either qualify you or not. Because you can have a 31 passing score and all of your technical scores are too low to get a job. And you'd have to retake it anyways. Or you can have a 31, but in one category, one or two categories, you absolutely excelled, and your GT score can qualify you for jobs that you shouldn't qualify for with that total score. So again, the line scores are going to be what assigns you the actual job itself. And like I said, there are 10 categories for you to be examined under that can, mess with your overall score. The 10 categories are general science, arithmetic reasoning, work knowledge, paragraph comprehension, math knowledge, electronics information, auto and shop information, mechanical composition, assembling objects, and verbal expression. Okay, so those 10 categories. Now, one thing that I tell people anytime it's time to go actually take either the PICAT or the ASVAB is there are going to be sections on this test that you've never heard of. There are going to be questions that you've never seen. There are going to be things that you're just kind of like, what is this talking about? Some things are like, oh, duh, that's easy. Like I've never spun a cog and then the other cog went that way, and then I was able to look at where this cog would turn, and then I can figure it out. There's some questions that you can just figure out, but then there's going to be other questions that you're like, next, right? So what I recommend when you're taking the test is to absolutely max out the sections that you know for certain you're good at. So for me, verbal expression, paragraph comprehension, I'm good with words, right? So I know for a fact I'm going to max those out. I'm going to get 100% on all of those, because then, for the questions I don't know, I can just select whatever I don't know, right? So that's always what I recommend. Now, as far as things that can help you study. Now, again, the ASVAB changes. I'm pretty sure it's like every year they update the questions. There are going to be the same amount of questions, but they're going to be different questions just to make sure that the test is updated and it's staying nice and fresh. Okay. So there's not really one specific good place to go that will make sure that you have absolutely the right information. There are ASVAB testing books. There are PICAT testing books. I think I have a PICAT for Dummies testing book for 2025 and 2026. I got that off Amazon because I was trying to help one of my friends. And it's actually a really good book because it has like links to videos that you can check if you don't understand what it was explaining in the book. So there are books that you can take, there's classes that you can take, there are all kinds of like programs where you can take practice tests and stuff like that. But I'm not super privy to it, so I would say just look around. If you have to pay for anything, don't pay for anything. Explore first, because there's a lot of people and a lot of things that offer it for free or for a low price. Like I said, you can get a book and then the book will come with all the external videos and stuff like that. So anyways, there's a lot of different tools and modules that you can use for testing, but the overall is do the best on what you can, and for what you don't know, try your best. Okay, that's it. Now again, I told you that after screening you have to do testing and qualification. Okay, for testing and qualification, to take the ASVAB and to take and confirm the PICAT, the very next place you have to go is now MEPS. Okay, so you've decided that you want to be a Marine. You've gone through the screening process. You have qualified medically, mentally, with your height and weight, with your age, with your citizenship, with all of your, medical information. You've qualified there. You've taken the ASVAB, or you're going to take the ASVAB, or you're going to confirm your PICAT over at MEPS. Now we're at MEPS. That's the next step in the process, okay? MEPS is its own whole thing, okay? Prepare for this day to be the longest day that you have ever spent around military members, around other people who are considering enlisting, and you're going to do a lot of hurrying up and waiting around. Okay, I need you to know that, because a lot of people really don't expect that it's going to be from 5 o'clock in the morning until possibly 6 o'clock in the afternoon. A lot of people haven't had those kind of days. Okay, so I need you to know that without your phone. Yeah, I said it. Okay, so know that this is going to be one of the longest days, but I am going to give you a couple conduct and character building tips. Okay, so for starters, your day is going to start out, well, actually it's going to start the night before. Your recruiter is going to pick you up, take you to MEPS, and you're going to stay in a hotel overnight. When you get to this hotel, typically every place is different, but I'm in Atlanta and this is how it works in Atlanta. Typically, when you get to the hotel, you will be assigned a room and you will be assigned a roommate. Okay, the roommate is for you to have accountability, to make sure that you wake up in the morning, get yourself ready, and that you get to the buses on time. Okay, that's typically why you have a roommate. It's not always going to be the one that you like. Use the same sex, because that's just kind of how it works in the military, is it's pretty much the same sex everything. Okay, There's a lot of different intricacies here and there, but for this beginning process, you have a lot of people who could be 17 years old. You could have grown men or women. So we just separated same sex, okay? So you're gonna have a roommate. Now, the night before, I always recommend that what you go there clean, you take a shower before your recruiter even picks you up. You can kind of just wear, shorts and a sweater, or, pajama pants and a sweater or whatever when you check into the hotel. You get there, you're good. The one outfit that you need is the shirt and the pants that you're gonna be wearing the next day, and a clean set of underwear and a toothbrush, okay? That's really all you need. Now, it is a hotel, so you should have like soap and stuff like that. So I just recommend a shirt, pants, and a toothbrush, and underwear and a toothbrush, okay? Now, as far as what to wear, every service is different, everybody is different, but Marines, we have a standard, okay? When you decide that you would like to enlist in the Marine Corps, you are telling us that you now want to be a part of this organization and carry yourself to a higher standard. So we're gonna hold you to a higher standard, okay? So some people will just say, show up however you want, it doesn't matter. But what I always recommend is you show up with a collared shirt, clean slacks, any color, but no rips, holes, or tears. You can have jeans, but they have to be clean, clean jeans with no rips, holes, or tears, not a bunch of fading, not a bunch of random other stuff. Definitely have yourself a belt. If you don't have one, that's fine. But again, collared shirt, clean slacks, no rips, holes, or tears, a belt, and we ask that you tuck your t-shirt in while you're there, okay? Again, everybody's standard is different. You may get there and see that there are other people who are not dressed like that at all, but this is the Marine Corps and we carry ourselves to a higher standard, okay? So there's that. And then the other thing is the night before, we're really serious about hygiene, okay? If you haven't showered prior to getting to the hotel, I recommend that you absolutely shower either that night or that morning. But no, that morning you will be required to leave at about 5 o'clock in the morning, sometimes earlier in different cases, depending on how many people are there. So I would just recommend showering at night before you go to MEPS. Now, this part is very important. Like I said, I'm not gonna go through everything, but this part is very important. Before you go to MEPS, you need to ensure that you take a shower, that you clean your fingernails, underneath your fingernails, for a female, well, really just anybody, and that you have on no nail polish, no acrylic, nothing. Natural, bare, clean nails, okay? That you clean out your ears, that you clean out your nose, that you wash your butt real good, all the things, okay? You need to make sure that you are completely spick and span. I have had applicants. I have had applicants disqualified for hygiene because the MEPS staff, you have to understand, one, they deal with hundreds of people a day, okay? So they don't want you coming in there funky and all gross, okay? But also, your hygiene could actually be a medical issue. The smell that comes off of you could be a medical issue. They don't know. So if you arrive and your fingernails are dirty, maybe you have some sort of, fingernail condition, or, maybe what's under your nails grows naturally. They're not sure. So you need to be clean, okay? Your ears. You could have earwax in your ear. I have had an applicant disqualified for ears because they had excessive earwax, and the medical staff didn't know, does it ooze out of his ears? Does it happen often? Did you just clean your ears last night and it's just oozing out everywhere? Like, they don't know, right? So you need to make sure that you and all your orifices are clean and ready for inspection, okay? Okay. Now, as far as clean undergarments are concerned, I also recommend for women and young ladies, I recommend that you wear a sports bra, not a regular bra. I recommend that you do not wear like lace or any sort of thongs or anything like that. Just wear regular cotton underwear or regular, full coverage underwear, as well as a sports bra, or just any sort of bra that's like not too revealing, because males, not the bra part, but this underwear portion is very important. When you do go for your physical exam, you will be asked to strip down into your underwear so that your full body can be inspected. Remember in the beginning when I said screening and I said scars, tattoos, bruises, marks, operations, all of that? The medical staff is going to physically observe every single piece of your body and document every single thing, every tattoo, every scar, everything. If you have a concave chest, they're going to observe that. If you have you have scoliosis, if your back is limped, or if you have a leg that's longer than the other and your hips are shaped, they're going to notice. Okay, they're going to notice and they're going to document it. So make sure that your underwear are nice and clean, that they're not too revealing that it makes you uncomfortable, so on and so forth. The last thing is piercings. Well, this is not the last thing, second to last. The last thing is piercings. You are not allowed to have any piercings at MEPS. Any piercings anywhere, they are gonna know. take it out. Okay, just take it out. I'm pretty sure they wand you at some point. Just make sure, take all your piercings out. Okay, even your ears included. You have to take it out when you go to MEPS. And then lastly, hair. Make sure that your hair is well kept and well groomed. If you have a lot of hair, put it up in a ponytail. You don't have to go full Marine Corps bun. You don't have to do that yet, but make sure that your hair is at least pulled into a ponytail and up so that they can observe your neck and they're not like moving your hair and trying to fit, you know what I'm saying? Like, make sure your hair is secured, is slicked back, and, clean and cut. If you know how to do a bun, I would say, put your hair in a bun, a little, wrap it up in the back, give yourself that Marine Corps presentation. And then if you're a male, same thing, wrap your hair up, put it up. But I ask that you don't do the little high bun situation, just, put it in the back of your head and wrap it and make it look nice, okay? So that's the physical exam. Like I said, that day is gonna be a long day. For some people, actually, I'm pretty sure for most people, the first thing that you're gonna do after you get out of the hotel, you get on the bus, you get to MEPS, I'm pretty sure everyone goes straight into testing. Because if you don't pass the ASVAB or you don't confirm your PICAT score, then there's no point of going through with the physical exams, okay? Probably should have said in the beginning, but we're here now. So the first thing you're gonna do is go into testing. If you do not pass your ASVAB or you do not confirm your PICAT score, your recruiter will be called to come pick you up, okay? Your day's over, you're done, you're good, okay? That's how that'll work. If you do pass, then you will move on to phase 2, which is the physical exam and all of that, okay? So you're gonna go on to that process. This is where the day can get really, really long. It may seem like it's like quick in the beginning, like breakfast, get on the bus, do this, whatever. And then once your testing is complete, then it starts, I believe they go by the letter of your name. So you could be waiting all day, you could be done, but either way, they don't start releasing people until, I think the earliest time was like 3 o'clock over here. So even if you finish your exams at 9 a.m., you still gotta wait because there's a confirmation and swearing ceremony if you pass everything, and that the first one doesn't happen until like 3 o'clock. So again, it's gonna be a long day, okay? So like I said, you're gonna have testing, then you're gonna have your physical exam, so on and so forth. Now, this is the last part that I wanna talk about, and this part is very serious, okay? So if you haven't been paying attention to this point, this one, I need you to know is the real deal, okay? When you are at MEPS, MEPS screens to disqualify. That means that when you walk through the door, every single thing that you do, who you are, and what you may or may not bring to your branch of service is going to be looked at under a microscope, okay? Everything from your conduct to your mental, physical, and practical exams. They're all gonna be observed, okay? So just know that while you're on MEPS, you're gonna be observed from the time you get there to the time you leave, okay? This is not the time when you are in front of the medical staff to have a revelation about some medical mystery that you did not disclose to your recruiter or your staff in CUIC or the MEPS staff that works for the Marine Corps branch or whatever. I'm not saying don't disclose any medical information that you have. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is not the time to now say, oh yeah, I have asthma, by the way. You should have disclosed that information to your recruiter however long ago it was when you first talked to them. If a recruiter doesn't ask you if you have asthma, and you know you do, you need to say something then. You need to say something to your recruiter and to your staff in COIC before they start the process. Because if you disclose to the medical staff some new medical mystery that you had a revelation about last night, and you were so freaked out that instead of calling your recruiter or your staff in COIC to get it situated and taken care of, you told the doctors the morning up, you're going to get yourself disqualified. And depending on what the medical condition is that you disclose, that could be a disqualification, a total disqualification, or it can be a temporary disqualification depending on what it is and how long it's going to take to get the paperwork and get it processed and then get a medical board waiver approved. And then, so it could be temporary, it could be permanent. Okay? I need you to know that. Okay? So again, nowhere am I saying do not disclose your medical information to the MEPS staff. What I am saying is if you know you have some sort of medical condition, or you've had a surgery, or you've had a broken bone, or your birth certificate ain't right or something, or your address just changed, or your phone number, anything that could possibly change, you need to disclose that information to your recruiter and your staff in COIC prior to getting to MEPS. Okay, because if you get to MEPS and anything is different than what you told your recruiter, then what's on your paperwork, you could either be temporarily or permanently disqualified on the spot. Okay? This is a real deal. Okay? So make sure you are in constant communication with your recruiter about any medical things that you have, anything that you think could possibly stop you from joining the Marine Corps. Like I said, remember iCombat V. Remember all of the things that could possibly disqualify you. You need to make sure that you're communicating that. Okay? So there's that. All right. So, okay. The last thing that I will leave you with is when you go to MEPS, after you do your testing, you do your physical exam, you're observed by the doctors, everything passes, you're going to go back into the Marine Corps office. Let's say you pass your test, you pass your physical exams, you go into the Marine Corps office, and now you're going to sit in front of the MEPS recruiters. Now, the MEPS recruiters are going to go through all the packages, or the package that you come with, that little SRB that you come with in your hand that has all of your medical records and all of your information and your high school diploma and your, all your things in it. They're going to sit you down and they're going to go with you line by line to make sure that everything is correct. When you are there, remember I told you that you are being observed constantly. This is true for when you wake up in the morning all the way until you leave the MEPS office, but especially when you're in front of the MEPS Marines. You need to make sure that your conduct is above reproach. You ain't gonna go in there sitting like that. Yeah, sup? No, I wish you would. When you're speaking to the Marines, especially, now everyone, but especially the Marines. If they ask you a question, yes, ma'am. No, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. All of that goodness, okay? If you don't want to be here, you don't have to. That's the big secret, okay? If you don't want to be here, you don't have to. But if you do want to be here, the MEPS staff is also in control of helping you get your job, providing recommendations to the CO, and, kind of keeping track of all the poolies that are coming in and out of the program. There are some applicants turned poolies that are going to be exceptional poolies and Marines, and you could get recognition prior to even going. But your conduct is a reflection of you, your recruiter, and your staff in COIC. Okay? So you need to make sure that you just maintain yourself. Again, while you're speaking to the MEP staff and stuff, it's the same thing. Yes, sir, no, sir. Sit up straight. Speak to them with confidence. Don't whisper. Don't yell, but don't whisper. Speak with confidence. The same way I've been speaking to you in this video is how you need to present yourself when you're there. I know that this process is going to be daunting. It's going to be long. It's going to be dragged out. A lot of it is going to be frustrating. People are probably going to be talking to you crazy in a way that you may have never been spoken to in your whole life. But if you want to be a Marine, you better get used to it. Okay? You just need to get used to understanding that you are low on the totem pole. When you work your way up the totem pole, that's when you start, you start putting on some things. But you need to carry yourself like the Marine that you want to be. Okay? And it starts at MEPS. It starts at the application process. If you're speaking to the recruiter and you're slouched over and you're chewing gum and you got a headphone in and you acting crazy, you came into my office, you would find out real quick who Auntie Staff Sergeant is. Okay? So let's make sure that our conduct is above reproach. Let's make sure that every single piece of information, any medical mystery that needs to be reflected on and revelatory, make sure that you give it to your recruiter first, and the recruiter will deal with it between you and your staff in COIC. Make sure that all of that information gets updated into your record, and then by the time you get to MEPS, it should be easy sailing, okay? I hope that I was able to answer any questions that you may have had about screening, about testing, and about MEPS, the beginning processes. You know, this is what I got. This is Auntie Staff Sergeant. I'm letting you know some information that you may have not received before. And I hope that it definitely does help. I'm going to try to continue to do these videos and just give you information, everything ranging from the qualification process all the way to what it's like being a pool lead and the things that you need to know before going to boot camp, what boot camp's like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What, you know, is the difference between active duty and reserves, different type of jobs, different type of things you can do. I want to give you guys all this information because I have it. I just have it. Okay. And you know, maybe once I empty out my cargo pockets, I can worry about being somebody's mama and somebody's wife. But for now, your favorite Auntie Staff Sergeant Rose is here for all your questions. Okay. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.